Hi everyone, happy Sunday. Yep, doing this on Sunday. I'm pre-recording it, but so here we go with the ums. So this is the second video, well, second official review video in my, what's the name of this series? Getting to Know My Colored Pencils series. And for those of you that aren't familiar with what's happening with this series, Tammy Colors 2 here on YouTube. I'll, of course, have her linked as much as I can in the description and here in a minute in the top right. We decided last year it would be fun to do sort of a collaboration going through our pencil sets, and we're doing so in alphabetical order. We have a lot of similar sets, and she is doing the full in-depth deep dive review into each of the pencil sets. So she's got like a test sheet that she's doing. She's testing how they blend together, how they to create new colors, how they're do they smudge, how do they do with the white and black pencils and things like that. Like, she's doing all the really in-depth testing of these pencils. And so here in the top right is her Arrtx pencil review. And I'm also going to put her playlist in the description if you want to see her previous reviews too. We've only done Amazon Basics prior to this. And so to make things a little different, and because everybody colors a little different with colored pencils and may have reasons for liking and disliking certain pencils, I thought it would be cool if we each did a video. Mine would follow up 2 or 3 weeks after her in-depth review. Mine is more casual. I'm comparing pencil sets in terms of colors. I'm talking about the pencil sizes. I'm showing you guys if I've previously colored with these pencils, some previous completed pictures. Then we're going to do a few little demos here. I'm also for each pencil set, I've really enjoyed doing like a full demo of how I color best with colored pencils. And so if you want to see that, I did that, and it's now in the top right, Wednesday night, with the Foxy February picture I did from the Furballs picture book by Diane Dufour. I think it's a French book, the Les Petites Courrières. If you want to go see a full demo of using pencil, colored pencil over watercolor pencils, definitely go check that out. And I'm going to show you the picture here anyway. It turned out gorgeous. And I'm going to do all that and then give you guys my thoughts on these as well. Like I said, I think it's fun to have different perspectives from people that have different, they may use colored pencils differently. Tammy is primarily a colored pencil gal, so it makes more sense for her to do the in-depth work because she uses them a lot more than I do. I tend to go to markers first. However, I do want to use my pencils more, and I use them a lot over marker or watercolor or what have you for shading. So again, just providing a slightly different perspective on these to give you a more, I think, overall look at the pencils, between Tammy's awesome videos and between mine. Maybe you get some different perspectives on them, and they're fun. And with me, I have a lot of pencils and I just need to destash some, and so we're going to find out if I really love these pencils and want to keep them. And you got a little preview Wednesday of probably how this is going to go. So Arrtx pencils, it would have helped if I went ahead and grabbed one. I have to say the packaging for these, because they come in a really nice box set, are very pretty. And the pencils themselves are very pretty. I, however, just stick mine in a pencil case. So the Arrtx comes in a 126 pencil set. Give me just... Alright, just wanted to be accurate. So there are 2 different sets of the Arrtx colored pencils. You can get a 72 set and a 126 pencil set. I will be reviewing the 126 set. So let me grab one. Ah, why is my hand so shaky? So it has like Arrtx on the side and silver stamp. It's a full pigmented pencil. It doesn't have like the dipped ends or anything like that. It's got some little stars on it, a barcode, the color name, and I do believe the numbers down here too, though it's like, I think the number at the end's the actual number. But for these, I would just go by color name. So these are 3.8 millimeter. And I thought they felt a little different than the Prismacolors. They might feel slightly thicker. So this is a Prismacolor pencil. They're about the same length. They do feel just a little bit thicker, and they have the rounded end instead of the flat end showing the color. Yeah, and I tried to look and see what the size was on the Prismacolor, and I couldn't see it. So if I know for a lot of people, like, pencil thickness can feel like people like certain pencils can feel weird, like if they're slightly different in sizes, so just kind of want to talk about that a little bit. The Arrtx 126 pencil set is currently going for, as of March 1st, $50, roughly $49.98 on Amazon US, and then the 72 pencil set is going for $25.99. So, oh, that's neat. There's apparently a bundle happening right now too, where you can get 126 of the Arrtx color pencils with the Mei Liang watercolor paint. It's the Pretty Excellent watercolors, which I highly recommend as a budget watercolor set, and for $36, and that's going for $60. I think I'm going to put that in the description, because that would be paying roughly $10 for the watercolors. So I actually think that is a really good deal if you like both pencils and watercolors. Alright, so those are the pencils as a whole. I can kind of show you guys my case. I think it's a 180 case, so I just wanted to use what I had, but like, here they are. Very pretty. You can already tell I've actually gotten some use out of these. They do come with some fluorescence. And here is the color chart. So this is from Color with Claire, and she does have some of these for sale. I think it's Ko-fi is the site. And I love these. Actually, every comparison chart you're going to see here is in this color family chart that she's created, and I adore it. I really do. This makes picking, I like to use, 3 or more pencils to create like a shaded effect. One to, well, it could be just one pencil if it's a small set, but usually with a 126 set, I can get some good 2 and 3 color blends, and these charts make it so easy. I'm going to put a link to her shop in the description. It makes it so easy for me to be able to pick light colors and things like that. I don't know, like, this just takes a lot of guesswork out for me and makes me want to use my pencils more. So here's the 126 Arrtx set. I mentioned Wednesday a little bit about this. You have a lot of blues and then blue greens. Actually, it's almost like you got more blues than you do greens, which is unusual. A lot of nice reds. You do have limited pinks up here, but you do have some light pinks and like different skin tone colors down here that kind of go along with that. You've got like a purple, red, violet color. I think you've got a fair amount of purples in this set too, and I think that's one of the reasons I like this set so much, is it has some unexpected sets of colors that I don't normally get in other sets that go well with how I like to use pencils, which is mostly over a base color. And I, very rarely am I going to need these 3 fluorescent pencils. I almost wish, and like a silver and a gold's kind of a standard for most of these pencil sets. Honestly, I wish they do away with these 5 and like include more colors. But that's just my opinion. This type of set, they're trying to offer a little bit of everything. And this is just a great example of where a 72 set, especially if it's not a really well curated set, like the Amazon Basics, in my opinion, aren't a very well curated 72 set. It's really hard to find those 2, 3, 4 pencil blends that you want for shading. And with those, a lot of times you just are limited to maybe 1 or 2 colors. But when you get up and when you get to 125-ish pencils or 120 pencils, it really changes the game. And this is probably like my favorite size set too when it comes to how I use colored pencils. But I love the colors in this. And we can compare to some of the others. So this is the Starjoy Gold. This is the curated set from, was it Color My World? I can't think of her name. She had worked with the creator of this set to create this unique set. It's not the original Starjoys. This is Starjoy Gold. I bought these sets together, and while this set is nice, I don't feel like this gives me the shading and the colors that I really want, like I want over here. Like this is a lot of, I'm all about some yellows and golds, and it is interesting, like there's more kind of browns up here, but they're more like down here. I don't know, like if somebody just told me I had to pick one or the other, hands down, I would pick this one. And I think it's because there's not a ton of like reds in this. They're more like pink reds, orange reds. There's a lot of pinks in this one, and I just don't use pink that much. And so I much prefer, unless it's like doing like a light skin tone or something like that, I just don't use pink very often when I color. Probably my least favorite color. So this is going to get more use for me than this one will. However, I do like the different greens that are in this one. I like this kind of, these like, this one's called Pickle. I really like some of the different green shades in this one. You get a lot more grays. So if you shade a lot with grays, this is a good set too. But me personally, just the way I color, I much prefer these colors over that set. But that's how they look kind of side by side. If you were curious to know what the differences in colors are, here's your Arrtx, here's your Starjoy Golds. Next up, we'll look at the Prismacolors. Now you get 150. Now if I really had my choice, 150. 200 colors, I do have that Color like 300 pencil set. I don't know if I need that many. 150 to 200 is probably an ideal set. I think the Black Widows I have 180. So I think 150 to 200 is just really luxury. But like I can make 120 pencils comfortably work. So it's a little hard to compare these two because you do get like, I can't math right now, 25, 24 more pencils in this one. And probably a lot of those are coming into play with your extra grays down here. But so there's that one. I know it's hard to see them side by side. This one has a lot of light gold, orange, and not a ton of yellow, but like yellow, orange, kind of a light orange color, some kind of neutral colors. You get a lot of neutral colors in this one. This one you get a fair amount of yellow, and then like I feel like some dark yellows, which I like, which I guess you have, yeah. Anyway, so here's a Prismacolor set. Like this is the gold standard, I feel like, when it comes to colored pencil sets. And But there are reasons I prefer the Arrtx to the Prismacolor. It's not because of the colors, but just wanted to show you that for comparison. And then finally, we'll compare the Polychromos is 120 pencils. So here is the Arrtx, and here is the Polychromos. Again, a really nice set of yellows and oranges and golds in the Polychromos. These are more pinks again than I necessarily like to use. So I think that's one reason I don't use the Polychromos that often. It's one of the reasons. But they do have some really nice reds. I don't like their violets. I don't feel like they have as many purples and violets that I like to use. Their blues are limited. They have a ton of greens though. Like when it comes to, if I need a lot of greens, like this would be the set to go to, or a lot of browns and neutrals. And these also come with like a gold, silver, and a copper. But I truly feel like if they took these 5 down here and converted them to like some more greens, me personally, I would like more greens or neutrals. Most people would probably like more pinks. So if they did one or the other, I feel like that would make this set even better. So that's kind of how they look compared to the other ones. I think sometimes you get the idea that when you buy like 120 set of colored pencils, like they're all going to be very similar colors. And they're really not. Like when you get down to the nuances of it, you get different advantages and disadvantages because they're all different curated sets. And again, this is, I feel like, highly personalized. It really comes down to what you love to color with, like what colors you prefer, what things you tend to color. For me, this is plenty of greens. I don't know about plenty, but like this is a fair number of greens. I prefer blues, I prefer purples, reds, oranges. I don't like pinks all that much, and these are more neutral colors that I can work with. Now, some of these colors are really close to each other, like these 3. Well, cerulean blue, ocean blue, and manganese blue. Those are real close to each other. I feel like there could be a little bit more differential here. Same here with ultramarine violet and violet. There is a shade difference, but it's really hard to tell at first glance. Perylene violet and Tuscan red, just a very slight difference. Prussian and Copenhagen, cornflower and light cerulean. So like some of these, I mean, again, I feel like the lime green and true green, there's not a ton between. So some of these I feel like could have been done a little better, but like if they ever decide to revise this palette, I really wish they would just stick to what they have, you know, lighten or darken some of these shades, and then like I said, make these more greens or more pinks. Like you would have such a solid set. But like maybe you prefer landscapes more, maybe you prefer greens and browns more often, so you might prefer polychromos instead. Maybe you prefer using gray a lot for shading. Prismacolor's got you covered there. Maybe you prefer more, I'm trying to think of something here. This has a few more greens to it, maybe some unique colors that you wouldn't otherwise have. The Starjoy Gold. This I think is a good complementary set, and I'll show you guys where I use some of it. I think this is a great complementary set as it has colors that I don't find in other sets, but like as a standalone set I don't particularly like it. But anyway, so kind of I just think it's fun to compare them. And like I said, I may decide I am in the mood to color with more greens or more purples or more whatever. However, it's not just about the colors. It's about the pencils themselves too and how they color on paper. And so I am going to show you guys, before we get to the demo part, I'm going to show you guys some completed pages because surprisingly, I think these are the most used pencils I have beside Prismacolors. I just like them so much because they do so well over a base color of watercolor or marker or what have you. I really enjoy them for shading, and again, the colors that they have and the pencil themselves. So the pencil itself, the Arrtx pencil, it is a soft pencil. I do feel like I can burn through these pretty if I'm not careful. So these are more soft than they are hard pencils. I tend to go, the softer the pencil, the smoother the paper for me works better. So if it's a soft pencil, usually on toothy paper it leaves a lot of white space unless you put heavy pressure down. Harder pencils tend to do better on toothy paper for me. So these are much more geared for the way I color to softer papers, smoother papers. But the thing is, they're not as soft as Prismacolors, which, what is? They're pretty close. I would say, in my experience, Arrtx has always been the closest I've gotten to Prismacolors. Black Widows, honestly, I don't remember. It's been so long. But, like, I would put these next down, like, past the Arrtx's. These are pretty soft, but the reason I honestly prefer these to Prismacolor is because I do color and I can color with these, and I tend to color with heavier pressure with fewer layers. And for all their awesomeness, Prismacolors are just so prone to smudging on me because of the way I color. I don't use them lightly or with layers, and if I do, I have to color that way with them or they will smudge horrifically on me. So that's one reason the Arrtx kind of went out for me. So again, my primary use for pencils is over base colors, and these have actually been some of my favorite pictures I've done. 50 Woodland Miniatures by Camellia Angelkova. I did this picture, still in 5 years, one of my favorite pictures. It's marker base, and then mostly the Arrtx pencils. I think I grabbed a few of the Starjoy again as a complementary colors, but this turned out beautiful. Like, to this day, I'm still just, I love this, and they were great on this paper. I used kind of medium, I would say medium pressure on these, and where's the tissue? One thing we talk about a lot is wax bloom, and whether these, I don't think I've treated this page. Have I treated this page? Okay, so they come up pretty good. What I would recommend when you color these pages, do you see that? Yep. When you color these pages, I would spray them with a type of finishing spray, like a fixative or something like that, because they do want to come up and smudge. Even, it's been, I don't know, at least 6 months since I've colored this. So they do still want to come up. I would recommend using a fixative when you spray them. Again, that is prone to their softness. That's because they are soft pencils. I'm not getting a lot of smudging. One tip, by the way, I show on Wednesday is, or I showed Wednesday, is buy an artist glove like this. It has like the two little, it covers part of your hand, and use that while you're coloring with pencil, and it'll also help reduce the chance of smudging because the oils on your hands aren't touching the paper. I use that every time I use pencils, regardless of whether they're prone to smudging or not, just because I don't want to run that risk. But this turned out gorgeous. I'm still in love with this picture. It just brings me so much joy. Forest Animal Mandalas by Joshua Dunbar. I think it was the very first one I did with I went a little darker with the marker base, and that's why in that one I went lighter. But you can still see the pencil over the top of it, and again, these are just, they're so nice to use. I don't know, when I use these pencils, I don't dread using these pencils. I mean, I'm only showing you 4 pictures with pencils, but when I tell you I can't think of anything other than Prismacolor, I've done this many pages with certain pencils. Um, I'm serious, because most of the time I'm just using marker, because using pencil does a lot. I have tendonitis and arm issues, and I get a lot of wear and tear on my arms when I use pencil, because I'm also trying not to use a lot of heavy pressure, because it will bother my arm, and it's one of the reasons I can't color all that much all the time with colored pencils, no matter how soft they are. I can't even color with markers. Like, if I did nothing but just color for 2 days with nothing but markers, like, my arm would still ache. So I have to be efficient in my time that I color. But when I tell you these pencils, yeah, they'll cause me some pain, but nothing like a harder lead pencil will. And, like, they're just a joy to use. And I got on a whim last year. Speaking of, we need to finish this up. A buddy color that Tammy Colors 2 and I were doing were these 2 pages, and we both did the dragon page first. And so this is the same pencil, but this is why when I do pencil pictures, I have to finish it. A, I'll get bored if it's weeks and weeks working on it. B, I am in such different moods with pencil pressure some days that you get something like this. The back half of this picture, I spent a long time just slowly shading in and building up layers, and then I got to the front of this picture and it was like really heavy pressure, real vibrant color, while this back here was more neutral, right? So it almost feels like it's 2 different pictures to me. It still turned out great, but this is just pencil. This is actually, I have a full pencil picture to show you. It's not any sort of base marker or anything. It's just the Arrtx pencils. And I thought they did so well in this book. And then finally, the Wednesday picture. If you don't want to go back and watch the demo part of it, this is my favorite one in a long time I've done. From Furballs by Diane Dufour, we have this picture for Foxy February. I used my Museum Aquarelle watercolor pencils as a base because I love them. They make me so happy. And I've colored so little in the past few months, and I've been in survival mode. I just wanted to use things that bring me joy, right? I wasn't trying to force myself to use something I didn't like. And I like all my stuff, but like, I wanted to use the stuff that I just love using. And those Museum Aquarelle pencils as a base always make me happy. And then I use the Arrtx pencils over the top, and it is gorgeous. I'm so happy with this picture, y'all. Like, I just can't even tell you. And I'm not getting any smudging from just moving my hand over the picture. Let me do this again. I am getting some dust from the page, though. Again, I recommend this for any pencil page, any pastel pencils, anything that you're using that might have some movement to it. Use a fixative. I need to do better. I tried to put mine together in batches and do them outside on like a warmer day, but use a fixative, because it might eventually, bleed over here. At the very least, like right here, I should probably take this paper that was behind it and just put it right here for now, so I don't risk smudging the other page. But anyway, y'all, these are my favorite pencils right now to use. To be fair, there's a lot of pencils I haven't touched in a long time. I really, in the past, have enjoyed using my Arrtx's. The Tong Fus I tried last year I really liked. I do like my Prismas, don't get me wrong, but they're not as much of my favorite as you would think, just because, like I said, the way I color, they just tend to smudge a lot. Alright, so now we're to the demo portion. So we are going to try a couple different books. Some of these are the same type that Tammy colored in, but again, since everybody colors a little differently, I think it's interesting to see, see how two people color like the same page. We're going to do Rita Berman first. So this was Amazon Basics last time. And if you watch that one, I had a lot of trouble getting any blending to happen, and I was even having some damage to the paper happen on this leaf. So was not happy with those pencils. So I'm going to pull some similar colors for this one, and then we're going to get started. All right. There we go. Hopefully it has been super blurry the whole time. So we're going to go with the second picture, and I pulled out similar colors to the Amazon Basics. I've got a yellow, trio, red, blue, and then green. Now, I typically, when I color, instead of doing light to dark, I like to go dark to light. So, can I get a little closer and still color? Maybe. Like I said, I tend to like to use medium to heavy pressure. As you saw in that Moon Valley picture, sometimes I'll get in the mood where I want to do real light, and very rarely do I get in the mood where I want to do light neutral building of layers. And it's like, if I get in that kind of mood, I'm almost like, I gotta do the whole picture now, because if I don't, it's gonna look very inconsistent. So this is the second, like, smooth type paper I've tried. The Moon Valley one by Maria Trolle is on smoother type non-Amazon paper. So is the Fur Balls one, and then the other two I showed you were on Amazon paper. Alright, and then we're going to use our lightest color, which is like a cream, which I think, sorry for the sharpener noise, I do like sharpening these. Now I'll typically go over the dark and middle color with this to try to blend it a little, and then I lightly go over the area that's going to be the lightest. Oh, it's almost a little too light. There we go. Here I am trying to go all nice and light with my shading. There we go. I think for kind of the quick and dirty blends and shading that I do, these perform very well. This one over here, you can see where the lines, even though I wasn't trying to use super heavy pressure on these, you can tell where it just didn't want to blend well, and it was kind of streaky, like all the colors stayed where I put them and didn't move much. These are a lot more seamless. So, like, if I feel like that's too, I feel like I can go back in with that medium color to make it a little more transition than just like a big blob of not yet super yellow in the middle. But like, I can come back here and go back over with the other ones if I feel like I need more in-depth color. And it's easy to do. These aren't super waxy like the Amazon Basics were. It doesn't feel like a chore to go back and forth with these pencils like this. As long as you don't make a super heavy, like with that lightest color, a lot of times you want to burnish with it and really put heavy pressure down. I try not to do that because until I'm sure that I like where everything's at. Otherwise, I like to be able to go in with the darker colors again and maybe darken up areas. Like maybe I need more shading, more shadow. So now we are transitioning to the red. I mean, shoot, anything after those Amazon Basics probably is gonna feel pretty good. I'll be honest with you. Now, sometimes I don't do a super good job of picking colors that really, you can really tell the difference. So this is also where I will probably go back and pick a darker, even darker red than what I have. Because that Crimson Lake, I don't feel like... Sometimes I'm almost worried things are going to be too... They're not going to blend well because they're too close. They're not close enough to each other. And then I end up picking colors that are too close to each other. Kind of like I did here. So let me grab a darker red. Let me grab the Tuscan red. Now, I don't think these are super layerable pencils. They definitely have more overall pigment rather than a lot of wax in them than compared to the Amazon Basics. However, even just a couple layers like this, I feel like it can be a little bit of a struggle. Like it even feels like a little bit of a struggle now. So, if you like using lots and lots of layers, unless you go super light, I think it might be a bit of a challenge with these. Again, that's just a nuance of them. It's one of the things where Prismacolor stands out. And like Polychromos, your more expensive pencils are going to have probably more pigment in them than your budget-friendly pencils, thus will perform better with layers than your budget-friendly pencils. But you can still make it work. Because I'm not a huge fan of coloring a bunch of layers, sorry, should have done that before I got on here. I'm pretty happy with how these do because I don't like a ton of layers anyway. Now, there doesn't seem to be a ton of difference in those reds, so you might be better served going with like a red-orange or an orange for the lightest color here, but we're just going to proceed with what I've got. Like the poppy red or the pale vermilion next over would probably be a good choice. See, like, I'm going to go ahead and burnish these, and see if you put too heavy pressure on them, they will pop on you and the tips will snap a little. That shows you right there how heavy pressured I color with pencils. I have to be real careful of that because that happens a lot. So like, and I have a weird thing with red. Like I guess I'm not colorblind, but I have a lot of difficulty being able to tell reds from oranges and tell a lot of difference between reds. So this is probably partially due to that issue that I have. But like, if I were to redo these, I would probably want, you can tell the difference, but like in my brain, I would be like, I would have picked an orange for the tips because I would want it to look, I would want it to look more different, more different, more different. We'll do a lily pad and then I'll show you guys the finished picture. We have a couple others to get to, so I want to make sure. Is this the darkest color? Oh yeah, this is the grass green. Okay. Yep, it is. I really wish the one, other than some changes to the palette to just make it even better. The one big thing is I really wish these were open stock. I was hopeful that like the barcode and all that on it would mean that at some point they would consider making these open stock, because I do really hate having to buy sets, a whole set, if I'm low on a pencil color. Now see, that is so pretty. Whoop, and there I go, popping that tip again. Shouldn't be. Like these smushed, I don't know if I'm not really doing blending here, but these smush together really nicely. I really like them. Honestly, I probably could go back over with that middle color and create more of a gradual. Otherwise, you do have that bit of a line, don't you? It's also hard to do this type of thing when you have really small spaces like this. Once these things are burnished, though, they are not going anywhere, though. Like, I'm putting this over the top of that, and it's just not really moving anything. And I guess I'll use the yellow around the edges. Sometimes, like in really small spaces, I'll just get away with like a dark and a light. Alright, let me go ahead and finish this up off camera, and then we'll move on to the next. We'll show that and move on to the next one. Alright, so I finished that up with the Arrtx pencils, and I feel like I hit the color matching pretty darn good there. I really like how it turned out. I was trying to show, so these are still waxy pencils, you can see here. However, I don't feel like these have more pigment than the Amazon Basics. Now these are very small areas, so I just did kind of quick and dirty blending here. I didn't use layers and layers. I had kind of medium to heavy pressure here, but I was able to get some shading, some basic, this is a look I'm pretty happy with, and this is probably, if I'm going to color with colored pencils, how I would do so. Oh, I noticed I missed a couple little yellow spots. These aren't like, so these don't really mush. These are not Prismacolor in the respect that like the colors really mush together and create like a seamless gradient on these. But these are far better than the like harsh lines that I got with Amazon Basics. So these are kind of middle of the road. I'm sure, as you guys saw in that Moon Valley picture, if I take my time and do very light layers, they blend and do very well together, but they're not super mushy like Prismacolor. So if you like pencils that blend seamlessly like that, these may not be the best choice for you, especially if you're just using solely colored pencils on paper. And I do admit that even just this little bit here, because of the heavier pressure, my hand's already hurting a little bit. So like I said, these are kind of middle of the road pencils. I couldn't see myself using these for hours and hours on end, but like if I wanted to color with colored pencils and just colored pencils, and I broke it up for an hour or two, you know, over a couple days, these do fine. These, I don't think these are hard enough that like they're unpleasant to use. I enjoy using them, particularly when I'm doing the shading over the base color, which also takes a lot of the pressure off because I'm not trying to go over them and create like a burnish or a blend or anything like that. So that takes a lot of the extra work off my hands when I do it that way. But anyway, I do think they perform much better than the Amazon Basics. I enjoyed this little, like I could see myself sitting here, and I don't do just colored pencil very often, but I could see myself sitting here and doing so with these for like little images like this. So this was an attempt at, what are these, Arrtx? I just want to write it down, otherwise I'm going to forget. And sure enough, a couple weeks from now I'll be like, what were these again? There we go. So there they are when you're like trying to do some blending and shading with them. Now we have Worlds of Wonder. We're going to back this up a little bit. This is going to be just straight color. When we say straight color, it makes me laugh because like, what do you mean by straight color? I just mean solid coloring with the pencils, not trying to use multiple shades of the same color and trying to create like a blend or anything like that. I'm just, you know, using the pencils as is on paper. Let me grab an orange. See, what all do we have here? We had like an orange, a purple, and I think we have everything else. So let me grab the orange. They have just an orange. They do. Where'd it go? I think I grabbed it. Yeah, I already knew I was going to need it. Haha. And then the purple will go with mulberry, which is, hang on, mulberry. There we go. All right. So let's start. I grabbed the mulberry to replicate like this purple color I used in the first one. Sorry. This is Johann Basford's Worlds of Wonder. And I am going to just do a solid color, that mulberry color here on the outside. So again, just want to show a couple different ways to color with colored pencils. I don't color like this with colored pencils very often. Mostly, again, I have to use medium to heavy pressure to not get a lot of white space. And so it tires out my hands pretty quickly. So that's one of the reasons I don't. So I wouldn't say this is going down quite as smoothly as the Amazon Basics. Like, I'm still having to do a few layers here, actually. Not layers per se, but I have to go over it once or twice to get most of the white space out. And given that Johann Basford's books are smoother paper, that's a little bit of surprise. I do feel like I have to work at these a little more to get that solid block of color. And I have to press down a little more. I'm really confident, well, my memory, you can't be really confident, but I'm somewhat confident I have not tried coloring in Johann Basford with the Arrtx before. And another thing, like, I don't really like using colored pencils in big spaces because, again, of the pressure I put on the pencils, and even just coloring like slightly bigger spaces like this feels like I have to press pretty hard, and like my arm is going to give up on me a lot faster if I color like this. I have a brush. You can also see there is a little bit of crumbly crumbles happening with the pressure I'm putting on these. Not the worst thing, but I wouldn't recommend just wiping those away with any pencil with your hand because it could very well cause smudging. Usually I have like a little fluffy kind of makeup brush that I use, and I have set it somewhere and I don't remember where I put it, and I don't see it. Geez, Michelle, you have a drawer for it sitting right here and everything, like a little space just for it. And yeah, I know, but my brain, I will pick up something and put it down somewhere, and it'll take me forever to find it. Let me just slightly go over with that. I don't want to run a risk of smudging anything. Alright, so there's the outside of it. Let's see here. We could go with just the red, like the chili pepper. Actually, we could do some different reds here. So, I have the Crimson Lake wasn't dark enough. I could do red and orange. That might work. Yeah. Alright, cool. Let's do that. So I'll probably do these little sections, a section or two, and then we'll jump and I'll show you guys the finished product. So we're introducing the orange and the mulberry color from the others. I figure these are good ones to use because across the different pencil sets, these are pretty consistent colors that like all the sets should have, so I can get at least as close to the pencil colors. So there's not a huge difference between the colors. Yeah, I do feel like I have to work pretty good. If you're like me and you really just don't like white space and you don't want to do a whole bunch of layers of a pencil and you just want to put one layer down and move on, you gotta press pretty hard for these to get that kind of color. Let's see what happens if I do that. Yeah, I did pick up a little bit of that red, so definitely be careful. These do crumb a bit if you're really putting heavy pressure on them. Maybe I should use... No, let's use that one. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to bounce and finish this off camera, and then we'll talk about it. Alright, so here is our finished Arrtx picture. I didn't love coloring like this. Like, just if you really enjoy just using straight, is it 1R or 2Rs? I can never remember. I always put 2X's. What is wrong with me? It's this. There we go. It's fine. It's fine. As long as I get it right in the video. That's the important part. Arrtx. Maybe I can remember it if I do it that way. But yeah, similar color setup as to that one over there. I didn't love the experience. The small spaces were fine, but it was the bigger spaces that I really kind of, it feels a little streaky. It definitely doesn't look as smooth as the Amazon Basics, so plus for the Amazon Basics there. So I probably wouldn't use the Arrtx to do like just solid coloring like this. But that's, like I said, that's okay. That's not how I typically color with color pencils anyway, because this is a lot of work and a lot of stress on my hands and wrists. However, you know, this little small piece, it's fine. But if you prefer to color this way with color pencils, you might be better off with something that has more wax, maybe, be like an Amazon Basic that gets you a bolder patch of color without you having to go back over it again and again in bigger spaces. So that's like a con for the Arrtx, but that's why we're doing this, so I can show everybody like the different ways. So yeah, no, I don't think they do great like building solid blocks of color like that on smooth paper. Now, one I thought I would try. Normally I show you guys the part of the demo on oh, this will be good, part of the demo, and I think instead of that I'm just gonna, I might put a piece of it here at the end. I don't know. I thought it might be a good idea. We could do it with the red here. This is a page that I still haven't finished. That's just marker. I was talking in the flip through Friday about how I have not tried any of the pencils on this glossier, higher quality Amazon paper, so I thought it might be cool to try on this, particularly since this is still kind of a work in progress. So let me see. Now granted, this is already has gradient built into it, and these might be the wrong reds, but we're gonna try. So basically what I'm doing is I'm using the gradient as my guide to where I put my darkest color. It's one of the benefits of a gradient. What I might do with the next pencil set is try a demo in a Matchstick Mouse book with maybe just the pencils. I don't know. I just don't really like using pencils, just pencils on Amazon paper, because I just get really, it's really hard on my hands if I'm trying to fix, trying not to have white space. And once in a blue moon, I get in the mood for it. I don't even know if you can see. You can see it a little bit. I would probably be better off shading a section that doesn't already have a marker base. However, this does do very nicely over that marker base. Like, this is exactly how I would use these pencils on this paper, which I wasn't planning on it, but now that we're here, I can go in. I don't have to use a super heavy hand because the white space is already taken care of, you know? Yeah, you can't really see much of a difference, can you? That's pretty funny. Okay, well, that wasn't really a useful test. However, um, I do like how the pencils are doing over the base. I wonder, like, I could let's try this. Let's try this real quick. Let's see what happens. I'm just using the blue. I'm not really too... Just going over the sections that, whoops, probably shouldn't have done that one. That are already shaded. You know, I feel like these are doing a little better than they would on the standard Amazon paper. So I think next time I will include a version, whether it's colored off camera or it's colored on camera, with just using pencils on this premium Amazon paper, because I'm not putting a lot of pressure here, and this is actually going on very nicely. Normally it's very grainy, very, just a lot of white space unless I really just bear down on this pencil. But look at that. That's actually pretty darn nice. So, just based on that little bit, I can't say for sure these do great on the premium Amazon paper, but like, I would be willing to try them on a picture. And so that's something interesting to note. And when I say premium paper, it's like, it's got like a gloss to it. I don't know if you guys can see it. I know Daria uses it. I think Christine Karen has a premium paper version. There's some matchstick mouses that are on this glossier paper, but this feels very easy with pencils compared to the standard Amazon paper. So, interesting note there. Alright, well, what I might do... No. Okay, so, if you still want to see more, and you want to see the main way I will use these pencils, instead of putting a piece here, I highly encourage you... Oh my gosh, cute! Yeah, I was really thinking about that one too. We're gonna have to do more in here. It's a given. I highly encourage you to go back and watch the demo. I speed up the watercolor add part. I do part of the picture with the pencil shading in real time, and then I speed up the rest of it. So you do get to see how these actually go down. There is a time jump if you just want to watch that little piece of the video. That will give you a more expansive real-time demo. I just try to limit that because, hey, we're already at an hour, and I've barely done any actual coloring. So trying to keep these limited, but it's there if you want to see more. And again, that's from Wednesday. And yes, so I guess let's get to the final thoughts section and wrap this up. All right, so if you just wanted to get to this part, if you skipped over some pieces or all the video, whatever, whatever you did, I'm going to summarize everything I talked about here, and just say that I prefer to color, as I've said, with a base color of watercolors, watercolor pencils, King Art gel sticks, any type of like a marker base, anything like that, and then have pencil shading over the top. It's less wear and tear on my hands. I can color longer. I don't have as much pain in my hands due to the heavy pressure of the pencil use. I don't usually do a lot of layers or take a lot of time to slowly build up color. I'm one of those, I want to do some quick and dirty shading and call it a day. I know I keep calling it quick and dirty, but um, I just don't have a lot of time to color, and so I have to protect the time I have, and for me, it is not relaxing, and I'm not patient to just do slow bits and pieces of coloring. And let me tell you, these are right now, I have another contender that I want to do some more testing on, but for right now, these are my absolute favorite pencils to use over a base color. For shading and for blending, and they do a beautiful job, particularly on smooth paper, though that, you know what, they do great on Amazon standard paper. I've shown you guys both examples where the only situation where I don't feel like I like these are solid color on big spaces in books. So like that Johann Basford picture I showed where I'm just doing one solid layer of color. I don't think these do well. You have to go over it multiple times to get a really good solid block of color. I guess because it's more pigment and not as much wax, they don't glide as smoothly on the paper. It felt like more of a chore to color that way than it does to just blend 2 or 3 shades together in small spaces. I probably, even though I've done a picture with some bigger spaces, I don't usually enjoy coloring large spaces with colored pencils anyway, but like these do feel like a little bit more of a chore if you're just using the solid, like, you know, one color. I'm coloring this all this blue color, I'm coloring this all this red color. I don't feel like these are the best choice for that. And so in that respect, of course, only have reviewed 2 pencils so far in this series. In that respect, that might be the one place where I think the Amazon Basics would beat these out. But because I don't color like that typically anyway, just once in a blue moon, um, that's not gonna, that doesn't make me dislike these in any way. These have a really nice, I think, a great color palette if you love a lot of blues, purples, reds, and oranges. If you like a lot more greens, or browns, or if you like to shade with grays, or you like more pinks, this may not be your main go-to set. For the colors that I like, this really matches up well with the colors that I like to use. If Arrtx happened to be watching, you guys, if you took, honestly, I feel like, and maybe people love silver and gold, maybe I'm just an anomaly here, but at the very least, if you took the fluorescence and added a few more colors, maybe a few more pinks for people, a few more greens, this would make this more appealing across the board. I would just take all 5, but I just don't like using silver and gold pencils usually. And the other critique I have, that if they ever revise this chart, there are a lot of colors that are very close, which these are not open stocks, so that can be beneficial if you run out of one color, and if it happens to be one of these colors that's really close to some of these others, like the cerulean and ocean blue are real close, Prussian and Copenhagen. The reds I don't think are super different, but I have trouble discerning different shades of red anyway, so that might be my own issue. So take that part with a grain of salt. But a lot of these, like spring green and apple green, really close to each other. So Arrtx, if you ever redo this palette, please keep the overall color palette you have. Just give us some more shade distinctions for some of these that are really close to each other, and like create some new colors with these. If you create some pinks with these, give us a few more unique greens and blues. Like this would be just mwah, like absolutely perfect. Um, so I love the colors. They match well with what I typically like to color with. That fur balls picture I did, I used my Caran d'Ache Museum Aquarelle. No, it's not going to be easy to get it. The palette, it's a 76 set. Really matched up well with this. Using this color family chart by Claire, highly recommend, because that base color was really easy to find on this chart, and from there I could build the shading colors that I was going to use. But anyway, big fan of the colors, big fan of how the pencils lay down, how they shade. They are not super soft, they're not super mushy with each other. Like when you have two or three colors, they're not going to mush together very well and create as smooth a gradient as like a Prismacolor. But I love the fact that they're not as mushy as soft, because they're a little less likely to smudge. I have a lot less problem with these smudging, is one of the reasons I love using them. So big fan on these. It's pretty funny because when you look at my Google Docs thing I'm going to share, it's going to have the pros and cons of each pencil set, and then I'm going to have, at the end of this course, it's going to be a big list of pencils and how I rank them personally. And like right now, it's going to be like Arrtx first, and Amazon Basics will be 2, but more it's like Arrtx is over here and Amazon Basics is like way down here. Like it's like a night and day difference between these pencils. I really do enjoy these. I think if you like doing a lot of pencil shading over watercolor, over marker, I think this is one of the best sets out there. Again, though, that's really personal, based on if you like these colors, if you don't use a lot of pinks like I do, like I don't. If you're doing solid coloring with colored pencils, there are probably better sets. Like that's probably where I'd recommend a softer pencil like a Prismacolor or something, because these would get difficult for somebody like me with tendonitis to use for a long time with that heavy a pressure. But the 120 range of colors I feel like is a good solid set of colors. I much prefer my 120 sets over my 72 sets, because I get so much more ability to build those 3-4 color sets that I want. And yeah, I think the biggest cons for these is they are not open stock. They do not do very well with solid blocks of color. On smooth paper for sure, because I use that Johann Basford book. And yeah, I don't really have a lot negatives to say about this. Other than that, like I said, just some tweaks to the palette would make it make these even better. Well, one critique. So the current price point. Let me look at something real quick. Hang on. Okay, so I was checking out the price history on these, and right now, price-wise, these are selling for $49.98, $50 US on Amazon with the 126 set, and then 26, like $25.99 US for the 72 set. I'm not sure what the color editions and substitute or editions are between the 72 and 126. I think they have thumbnails so you could compare them, but I don't personally know what they are. So $50 is a bit high. Typically I would consider budget pencils should be more in the below $50 range. When I look at the price history of these on Camel, I see that around December and January, they dipped all the way down to like $30. And if briefly, I think in January, like in late December and early January, they dipped. But really, overall, during the year, you don't see a lot of change in the price of these. Like they might, yeah, they typically, on average, stay around $50. So, um, I don't anticipate a lot of sales on these unless you count like holidays and stuff like that. Um, Whether or not they're worth $50 is really kind of comes down to you and your preference. For me, they're worth it. I've used them more than I have any other of my pencil sets except Prismacolors. I would spend, even though I feel like these should be more, maybe 40. I don't feel like they're far off. Like I feel like these could be more like 40 or 45. I do feel like 50 is a little high, but they're good pencils. Um, so to me, $50 are worth it, but um, again, I will use these a lot, and I use these a lot over base colors. So um, it just depends again on your budget and what you like to do, how you like to color, what you like to color, things like that. I feel like they should be more 40 or 45, but I don't anticipate they're going to be running a lot of sales on these because these are pretty popular. So, maybe put them on your list and keep an eye on them. Again, during the holidays and stuff, they might have some special lightning deals, but for the most part, these stay pretty steady. So, again, I personally think they could be a little lower, but for me, $50 is not excessively ridiculous for these pencils. If they were open stock, they'd be even more appealing at that price point. So, all right. Well, that is pretty much all I think I've got to say about these. It's, like I said, it's really funny that the first two sets of pencils on this list are like, I feel like a night and day difference in how I want to use them. And I was like, oh, this video won't be hard to do at all because I already have all these pictures I've done with them. And I had so much joy in doing that picture Wednesday. Y'all just have no idea. Like I could do that whole book in those watercolor pencils and the Arrtx pencils and not touch any of my other pencils, and I'd probably be okay with it. I mean, after a while, I'd probably want some different colors. I get a little tired of using all the same colors, but that's with anything I do. I like to mix things up. So, yeah, so there you go. As a wrap up in the description, I will have, if you want more in-depth info, if you really want to know how these blend together to create new colors, if you want an in-depth look at how they do across multiple books, more like testing level information with these, definitely go check out Tammy's video and to get her perspective on them too, because again, I just find it interesting. We've reached a lot of the same conclusions with our videos, but we've also had some differences. So, and if you want to see somebody who uses primarily colored pencils, she'll be able to give you more of a perspective from that than I will. And yeah, so this has been really fun so far. I'm actually quite proud of myself for doing 2 of these so far this year and not just throwing in the towel and saying I can't participate. I'm not sure which one's up next. I think it might be the Arrtx. I mentioned them earlier, but we'll see. I should actually have quite a few, well, not a ton of pictures with those, but I have a couple. So we'll see. It might be 2 or 3 weeks before I get to that, but I will. I usually let Tammy put her video out first. Yeah, so go check out, again, her video for the in-depth stuff. Sorry, I was going to talk about all the links. I'm going to put the link to the color family chart in the description as well, the Ko-fi shop that Color with Claire has. I'll have a link to the pencils on Amazon. I'll have a link to Wednesday's demo if you want to take a closer look at how these performed in real time over watercolor. And yeah, I think that was all. I mean, I'll have the Google Docs in there and and I'll have all the pros and cons and stuff listed like I did in the last video. So, hope you guys enjoyed, and I will be back probably Tuesday or Wednesday with kind of my planner review for February and what I'm doing for March. So, and then we'll be doing more coloring stuff probably Friday, and then next weekend will be my coloring book. We'll start with my coloring book collection, restarting that collection for 2024 because that's probably changed a lot actually in the last like year and a half. So, hope you guys are having a good weekend, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.